I'd like to welcome my legends. We've just been having an interesting conversation about the word legend, but for me, they are legends. If you've ever played top flight football, you are a legend in my eyes. It's not something that is achieved by many people. So, welcome, my legends, Kevi and Obey. Thank you for gracing us. And Kevi is also part of the hosts of this platform. We also have Man City supporter to celebrate a Mickey Mouse trophy for this week. We call him Mr.
Yeah.
Sangalewa.
Let us have this,
Now,
please. Please just let us have this.
no,
Our,
for me, a trophy is a trophy.
it could be the only trophy that we win this season.
Good answer.
Yeah, yeah, a trophy is a trophy. Yeah, we have a lot to discuss. Takatirwa Mashura with CAF in the past week, something we've never seen. So it's one of the main topics that we are going to discuss. We are also going to discuss the upcoming friendlies, Zimbabwe versus Highlanders, then Zim Four Nations tournament as well. Just in short, just to cover it. And then, yeah, any other topics that may arise. The ZPSL league, which has just started. We've seen Caps having a perfect record in the past games, and yeah, a few things. Islanders, we've seen Benjani being a draw specialist as well. So we just dive into it. But first of all, the big one. Senegal has apparently been stripped of the title in a shocking development with CAF. So we're gonna discuss. I know, KV, you've studied the documents very studiously and you've been analyzing it a lot. So I know you're gonna have a lot to say. So yeah, I'll open the floor to you guys. What's really happening with CAF? What's your take on the issue?
I think Kevin, maybe since you've had a look at a lot, but anyway, thank you for having me. I think Kevin, have a go because I'm probably going to be on the south side of many because
Okay.
I've got a different
You got a
perspective
different
on it.
view. All
Yeah.
right.
I don't agree
I,
with
I
what's
think,
happened, but I'll go back to the night of when it happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay.
I think to be fair, me and Obey actually we had this discussion, on the I think on the day, yeah, is
Just
it on the day?
soon after.
Yeah, we had a long chat about it, I think, yeah, probably, you know what? I think for a change, maybe if you start Obey because you were very strong and on both ends, you were very strong, about. The rules and the rule breaking and all that. So I don't mind you starting really, on that. I can if you want, but I don't mind you
Okay,
starting.
I'll go. My view from day one was that game should have been called off on that time when they walked out of that pitch. That game should have been called off, and Morocco should have been declared the winners of. This is the debate is not about whether the referee or um, VAR was right or wrong. For me, it was the actions that Senegal took, which
Okay.
put the whole tournament into disrepair. Issues about the referee, people could have dealt with it after, you know. And I felt there was a lot that was going on in that tournament that Senegal felt was not fair on them. But I think that was not the way to deal with it. I don't support CAF. CAF has been nuisance in terms of treating other nations. There have been some powerhouse who's got away with a lot of what I believe is underhand tactics to win games or qualify to tournaments. And the reason why I say that that day the tournament should have been called, the game should have been called off. Morocco should
Mhm.
have won on the night. Once they didn't do that and the game continued, the winners then became Senegal, in my view,
Okay.
because at that point you can't make those decisions in retrospective. Remember, I'll go back to Tottenham versus Liverpool. Liverpool scored a genuine goal.
Yeah.
The referees in VAR and VAR realized within 2 minutes that that's a genuine goal, but play had gone on.
Yeah.
The free kick had been taken off for offside. The game had moved on. That's the reason why they didn't give that goal, because once one decision has been given, you move on, and that's my view. And I think the referee would have been disciplined. And my question is, where was the match commissioner when all this was happening? So as much as the referee now becomes the focal point, there's a lot of people that needs to be under. I don't believe the chairman should have been involved. I don't think that's the right protocol, because where are you going to end? Because then the chairman of CAF walks down because there's an offside issue. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Where was the fourth official? Where was the other two linesmen or assistant referees? So there's three on the pitch. Then you've got the fourth official. Then you've got the match commissioner on the stands, who can directly speak to his team, who's overseeing the match. Those five should have made a decision. And I think they tried to save the tournament, which was bad enough. What happened was bad enough. I'm not supporting what Senegal did, but the fact that the game continued, then Senegal won. Whatever happens now, I think it's a disgrace to African football.
So you're saying you believe could the once Senegal got off the pitch, no matter what reasons they had, the game had to be stopped there and then.
Yes, if once you walk, that's the simple rule. Once you walk, that's what CAF is trying to say now, which should have happened on the night. Because Kev will tell you, me and Kev has gone through some of these things. Yes, it could be at a different level. I understand that. You can't equate League One or whatever level is with the tournament like that. That's not what they're saying. But if we believe that the rules, which I do believe, they're all the same. And I think even the yellow card cost on Sunday football is the same fine in Premier League, which sounds bizarre, but that's my understanding. If it's £10 for Sunday football, it's £10 for the Premier League when you get a yellow card, because it's meant to be the same throughout. And that's my argument. That's the core. They should have been brave enough to say Senegal have walked out of the pitch. That was almost 20 minutes, if I'm not. That's a long time, and I think that's the way it should have done. After that, and I think we had all forgotten about it. It's got worse. It's got worse. It was bad enough on the night, and it's got worse now.
Yeah. So so coming into that, I think I'll start with something similar that happened. Where you realize that my take on it is always as usual on a sort of a principle basis, and also on following the rules. Yeah. So it happened that Obey was present as well when we played at Team Zimbabwe UK. We were playing a final in one of the tournaments 2 years ago, and as we were in a final, so like how this goes, we have the goals that have got wheels, so they moved. Yeah, so these goals had 4 wheels on them, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So, but the 2 in the back, they were inside the goals. Yeah. So Zimbabwe were losing 1. We were 1-1. I think we were 1-1. Yeah. Yeah. We just actually we were losing 1-0, and then we scored a goal. It went all the way. You see, this is even worse because it wasn't like a penalty. Yeah. The ball went in, probably 5 meters beyond or maybe say 3 meters beyond the goal, and it hit that wheel because it was a shot. It hit that wheel and came back out. And the referee said it wasn't a goal. He didn't see that. We went mad. Well, for me especially, but being the coach, I went balmy. I was really mad. In hindsight, I looked at it and we were talking about Obey, and I said probably I could have handled it differently. Yeah, I went mad, and the worst thing about it is that there was a recording a recording which clearly showed. So even though the referees were shown this recording that this ball went way beyond the line, they said that they can't use that video for the result, because what for the goal, or but to deny the goal or say it's a goal, they've denied the goal. That was the end of it, because the referees cannot use video evidence when they're not supposed to use the video evidence. That made me even worse, so I refused to entertain any of that. And it went on for a long time, to a point where the referee abandoned the match. It was the final for AFCON, AFCON UK. It was the final. The match was abandoned and we lost. And we didn't care because we were really angry then. But in hindsight, when I was looking at it later on, and we probably had about 10 minutes or so to go, I thought, wow, you know what? I understood why we were, thrown out, because we refused to play. Yeah, so, we came off the pitch, and rightfully, by the letter of the law, the ref, after a certain time, he said, no, that's it, you've lost. So we lost the game. So we ended up being runners-up. And in hindsight, I felt that I should have probably not let my emotions get the better of me. We should have just continued. And if we lost, we lost, but because the bottom line is we still had a chance, to try to get back into the game. So my point is that the refs from a lower level of AFCON UK, they went with the, with the letter of the actual law or the actual rules, and said, you've walked out, the game is finished. Yeah. So now we go to CAF, which is an international body, with the referees, international referees and all that. The same principle should have applied to Senegal. As much as most of us were supporting Senegal, but Senegal should have been choked out because they walked off the pitch. The problem now is that they didn't. And there's so many things, different things that we mentioned there, but to try to make sure that AFCON, it's never decided, by an abandonment. The game has got to be finished, the safety and all those things, that people were talking about. Those things shouldn't matter. The laws of the game should matter, whatever is going to happen. So the moment that the players walked out and the refs deemed that these players were not coming back onto the pitch in time, they should have, said the game is abandoned. So they created a problem for themselves because, like Obey said, there was a match commissioner. These games, they have someone who is above the referee. Yes, we say the referee's decision is final, but we have someone who is above the referee who can direct the referees on what to do. That's the match commissioner. Yeah. So every match in those games, they've got a match commissioner. So whatever happened there, whatever communication that they had between the commissioner and the refs and the assistant refs and the VAR, the bottom line is that they said this game has got to go ahead. Once they decided that the game is going to go ahead, the result on the pitch should have stood. The only thing that I say they should have done is that after that, either CAF should have punished the match commissioner and the referees for going ahead with this match, or or they could have banned Senegal. The result stands, but they banned Senegal, say, from the next AFCON because of for bringing the game into disrepute. Yeah. But then what they tried to do is they did something that was criminal, because why I say it's criminal is that the moment they allowed that game to be played to continue, in essence, what they said to Morocco is that Morocco, go in there, it's your thing, you're going to win it. It's either you win it today on the pitch, or you win it through the through the boardroom. So Morocco, even though they were playing to win, they were under no pressure or obligation to win that match whichever way, because they would have known that if they contest, this decision based on Article 82 and 84, it could be in their favor. So if Morocco won the match, they would ignore the 82 and 84 and say, we've won it. That's it. It was shameful what happened with Senegal and all that. And but they leave it to that. But they had a chance to play and get beat and then still claim being the champions. That should never be allowed. There shouldn't be any team that gets two opportunities to win the same game. Because in essence, what they're saying is, let's go and play, but if we win, we win. If we don't win, we still win. That's no way, but to govern, a football match. And other things that haven't come out is, even if Morocco were playing under protest, was there any official protest that was lodged prior or before the game was restarted? Was there an official lodge that was made by Morocco? Nothing of that sort was mentioned. So that meant Morocco went back onto the pitch saying that, okay, whatever decision the refs have made, we are going back on the pitch and we're going to try to win this match. So why then should that match be decided, about 2 months later? So what CAF did was, it's almost like, you're becoming a law unto yourself or unto yourselves, where you're deciding that, for whatever reasons, whatever excuses you have, let's have this match finish. Whoever wins. But you know what? We still have the influence to change this result. So they allowed Senegal to win the match. They allowed Senegal fans to celebrate. They allowed, or they made the Moroccan fans, cry and, be sort of, in disbelief and anger and all that, because they've lost the game. Whilst at the back of their minds, they were thinking, we're going to reverse this. That's no way, to rule or to govern, anything regarding football. The result should stand. The result should have stood. If they wanted that match, if CAF were within their rights, the refs were within their rights, the match commissioner were within their rights to say, Senegal, you've lost the match, end of story. And I tell you what, not even one of us here will be arguing about that.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Dave Obey. It's so sad. At the same time, it's pathetic. Rules are there for a reason. Rules are there to govern and control the games or any other place, whether it's a workplace, wherever you go. You don't flout a rule and then come back, you being the gatekeeper of the rules, and then come back and say, no, based on that, I'm now changing my mind. When the ball crosses the line, those refs, they were watching. That gives them a buzz. Could that go? You can argue until the pigeons come home. You can argue until elephants fly. If that watch doesn't buzz, you can bring out rulers and you calculate which is a pura, by 5 centimeters. The ref will just do this. So they go. And that's it. And the game goes on. These guys, like I said, when the game was being played, if you guys remember, I told you why we were watching a delayed match. Obey, I told these guys we were watching a delayed match. They wanted Morocco to win at all costs, right? You could tell from the decision that the ref was making, this thing here, it's being pushed somewhere. It's being pushed somewhere to go somewhere. But then the mistake that was made was Senegal told the script. They didn't read the script. When you're acting in a movie, you're given a script. Senegal told the script. When Senegal told the script writers now went blank. They didn't know what to do when those guys walked off. But you see, you don't say you don't know what to do. That's why you have laws. You guys walked off. The stipulated rule states that once you walk off, it's game over. How the world sees the final, that the final, was won through one team walking off, is neither here nor there. We're just being principled, but following the rules of the game. But because everyone wanted to see a final with goals, a final that goes to 90 minutes, the same guys that are coming 2 months later to say, no, the decision was wrong, are the guys who gave the match commissioner the instruction to tell the ref and his team to go on with that game. The moment they did that, the overriding Article 18, whatever Kevin said, meaning Kuti, what happened after that stands as who won the game. Senegal won the game by virtue of Kuti. These same guys, Anamotsepe and his team, they overruled the rules of the game and then allowed it to play. And to Morocco also, because they're at home, they didn't want to be seen as an embarrassment to the nation. They also took part in the game, in the flouting of these rules. So it means Munetsi there took part in decimating these rules. So what stands right now is that Senegal won and Senegal remains the champions. This after 2 months deliberation, we know why it's coming. Because they're supposed to host the women's what. So they just told those guys, we're not going to do that because that's part of the and then they're going to get it. Now, and then my question comes to this. Obey, as a former player, I'm bringing this to you. Imagine this comes, and then 2 months, husbands, you're a winner. How do you go? How do you celebrate and actually accept that trophy and say, I'm a champion, knowing Kuti, on the day you played, you were beaten nice and clean, and then you're winning through the courts, and then you want to say, yes, I'm crowned the champion. The whole tournament has been staged. They can get GK, they can get domestos, they can get all these things to try and scrap. That stage is never going to leave. You see, even before this, most of these European-based guys were saying this tournament is a Mickey Mouse thing. They've just given them more ammunition to actually say, we told you this is a joke. And as Africans, we've always been seen as a joke, right? By these other guys in every else when it comes to football. And this here, what this does is we've just given them more ammunition and proof to say, we told you these guys are a joke. And we have become a joke. There comes a time where I believe in football administration. If you need to have a plan B in everything you do in life, you need to have plan A, plan B. You guys might have a Bora, Anitra. Put Bora at a certain stage, I can't play anymore. You need to have a plan B for your life. You understand? This applies to every person in this world. You have a plan A, plan B. You go to school, you go to work, you retire. But all those things, guys, you are bringing to kids. Where am I going to go after this? Or what am I going to do after this? And you can't say, after playing at 35, you say, now you can't. There should always be a plan B. Have no plan B for the women's tournament. What happens if we can't host this thing? And you tell me these guys sit week, month in, month out, pay each other, use some of the money, and do not have a plan B. If Morocco says we can't, where do we go? If they had plan B, they wouldn't have taken this thing to Morocco and has won. This is a joke. And it's actually an embarrassment to the whole of Africa. One, it's worth an embarrassment to Patrice Motsepe. This guy runs Sundowns. Well, I don't know if the runs do not. But now imagine how people start viewing Sundowns from now on. They look at them and we know Sundowns wins because, those guys can play. The structures are solid. But once you look at them, people like, these guys, Sundowns, they'll probably get away with it. And you want to stop any South African club to getting away with it. He's South African. He's the guy running CAF. And he comes up and he makes these are kindergarten playground rules. That what these guys CAF did. And to me, it's, the whole thing is a joke. Senegal walking off the pitch, they know those guys are professionals. Those guys have been pros for a long time. They know the repercussions of walking off the field. If you're protesting, you don't walk off because they know the rule. If you walk off in 2 minutes, the ref blows to the over and you've lost. That's it. You don't come back and say, no, but you were still a change. No, you walked off the pitch. The rule says you don't walk off. All that was overridden. All that was overridden because Morocco also became complicit in saying, no, the match has to go on because we need to play the final so that everyone knows the final finished. The moment they did that, like Kevin said, everything went left, went to the dustbin. They shouldn't cry foul, Koji. The law states. And you can't come back 2 months later and say, the law says. You cannot do that. These guys, I don't know what they're smoking. They should stop it. They should stop it. You know, they should stop it. And if it means, Kuti, the women's tournament has to be postponed and be played somewhere else, they should have done that. They should have done that and say, okay, fine, you guys don't want to host it. We're playing it somewhere else because we all flouted the rules. But no, you know, this is Africa. You know, it's Africa. We do things differently from everyone else. We don't start arm twisting each other. We're not going to have a tournament in our country if you don't give us the trophy. Yeah, okay. We'll give you the trophy 2 months later. After 2 months. Morocco. That's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment.
Mr. AI.
You see, my take on this is if I am going to play like the devil's advocate on this, we keep saying that the referee's decision is final. But if you watch matches in the Premier League, we have seen situations where the referee's decision has not been final. Someone gets a red card during the match. A three-man panel will later sit and review that red card and later overturn that red card and say it wasn't a red card. And that decision then stands, which means the referee's decision on the day has been reversed. If there's a panel that has a power to reverse a decision made by a referee, why is it not happening in this situation?
It's different. The situations are different.
Yeah, but listen, there is a rule, and isn't it the rule that they're saying the referee decision is final?
Yes.
But this now has gone past this stage of the referee. It has now gone into the board because this thing was triggered by an appeal made by the Moroccan FA. And then now, which made them go back to the rules. Okay, what are the rules saying? Right? So if there is a scenario, if there is a situation where a decision that was made by a referee during a game later is overturned and it's acceptable to everyone, like the example in red cards, like we see someone who should have received a red card and he doesn't receive the red card, and then this match they sit down and then they say retrospective punishment, and then they give him 3-match ban, which means the referee's decision on the day was not final. Because if the referee's decision was final, he should not be banned late those games. We have seen players miss those 3 games.
I think you're talking about infringements. These are infringements that you're talking about. It's not about the entirety of the game or the finishing of the game.
Yeah.
The game, when the game finishes, when it actually finishes, it's regarded, whatever result that is there when the game finishes is where they say the referee's decision is final on that. But when there's infringements during the game, those infringements are not final if there's a board that looks at things like, a red card that hadn't been seen, I would say mostly, the infringement it tends to be a red card situation here. But this is about talking about this issue talks specifically about whether the game ends or the game doesn't end. So where the ref makes a ruling and says, I'm going to abandon a match because of A, B, C, D, then the board that sits there, they would then look at the reasons why that match was abandoned, and now they're looking at charging whoever was the cause of that, abandonment. Yeah. So in this case, the referee did not abandon the match. The referee allowed the match to go ahead. And not only the referee, because a match commissioner has full authority as well on the game, because a match commissioner can say the violence that's happening within the stands are a safety issue, are a safety concern. We cannot continue with the game. Yeah. So now, instead, where people were saying, "Oh, you know what? They might have kept on playing because they were worried about the safety of the fans and all that," it's actually contrary to that, because if there's a safety issue, then the game shouldn't be played.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the game was played. The referees deemed it fit enough, and you know what? In actual fact, they were proved right, because the game was played and there was no violence. Yeah. As bad
violence
as it
was
started. No.
Violence was there.
I'm saying the game after what had happened.
After the game had finished.
Right. I'm saying prior, when the players walked off the pitch, there was violence and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the game restarted, there was no violence. During that moment, from when the game was restarted to the time that the game finished, there was no violence. There was no issues on the pitch. The game was played. There was no issues there. Whatever issues that came about after that, that's just like any other match. If Nottingham Forest are playing Derby here, you know what? The game, there can be violence. Games have been stopped because there's violence, and then they continue, and then after the game, the police have to run around, trying to separate, the two opposing fans. So what happened there was, whatever was happening, the bottom line is that the match, they managed to get the match to the end. Not only did they finish the 90 minutes, they then went into extra time. Then they finished the extra time. There was no violence. They stood by by the side of the pitch. The ref took the captains for the penalties, and they did, the usual diligence and all that. And the penalties were won. And after that, everything was done to the book, with the way that the ceremony, the after game ceremony and all that. Yeah. So there was nothing there that impeded the match. The one thing that impeded the match, which was an infringement that could have been dealt with it's not an infringement there. The abandonment that should have been made by a referee was not made. And so this was a collective thing with the authorities, that we are not going to stop this game. We are going to continue with this game. So that's why we said, if they had said, no, this game is not continuing, that's it. We wouldn't even be talking about this.
Kevin,
the other difference is this. The other difference is this, Al. Even if a player is given a red card, and then that team goes on to lose, even if they appeal, he will win the case. They will skip the red card, but they don't change the result. The result stands. This is what we're saying. The result stands. But they want to change everything. Those guys scored the goal. We're all watching. They scored the goal from open play. They scored the winning goal. And 2 months later, and my appeals ever red cards, they don't even go after a week. 3 days, 4 days, that thing is sorted out. These guys are 2 months later. And look at the timing. The timing, everything is totally different from a red cards given. The timing, sometimes the timing is off. Timing actually is off. Just before the women's thing has to start, this thing comes up. 2, you're overriding match commissioner, the referees and his assistants. Can they bring those guys into the frame and tell us, and let those guys speak up about what happened? You know why those guys will never come forward? Because those guys know what they were told. They were told to go ahead with that game. So if those guys are given the platform to speak, the whole thing will go left. We even further left. I don't know because the mistake that they made was allow Senegal to walk off, stay there, come back and continue the game. That's where everything went. This is where they lost it. So at the end of the day, we can sit here to say the thing is,
It-
they messed up. Senegal should remain the champions because they cuffed themselves, made the mess of this whole thing. So, you can't, unonyora ma correction after 3 years. Wakanga uri form 1. Form 3 uta adaonyora correction yandakatadza papa muna form 1. Aiwa, it's too late. It's gone. Erabochenda. You know where you're going. So this thing, we can, problem, the problem we have is this is where I see the biggest problems we have when it comes to things that to decide things football wise. People get emotional, and we let emotions come and take over our common sense, our sense of reasoning. It's clouded by emotions. And everyone starts getting emotional. I've said this before. I'm saying it now. I'm going to keep saying it. Every time a national team is called up, yes, Zimbabwe, every time it's called up, Facebook, your phone is going to vibrate. And guess what's happening? It's one issue, Tauro. In your Marshall Munetsi. When are we going to come to a point that, look, can we stop? Until this guy fixes his stuff, no one hour, he's not going to play. And that's end of story. I'm not speaking because it doesn't matter whether I like him or don't like him. I have no reason not to like him. Okay? He's done nothing to me. I have no reason. I would actually want him to be part of that team, of that setup. But there are issues going on with him and Shedai Koko Kuzifa. We don't know. We're not privy to that information. And then for people to come out and say the coach who's been there for less than 2 months, you know what I mean? So this thing, we need to stop being emotional and start being factual. We know Mashi Akaita, that interview in Joe Hart. People want to act like they don't know. You need to go and watch that thing and listen to what he said. Somewhere along the line, someone took offense. Someone in the high echelons of Zipa took offense to what he said. And this is everything emanates from there. It comes down. So for people to say, painted the coach, why doesn't he call him? No. Marshall is a professional player. I believe he's supposed to be pro. He's a professional. I believe he's a professional. He has to have people that advise him of these things. Everywhere you go, even Pabasa, you have people. If you're a foreman, you have the sergeant. If you're a team leader, you have this people who come and say, hey, listen, chief, we're meant to do this, but we're supposed to do this because of ABCD. You deliberate on those things, and then you come down and say, okay, you make an informed decision. They call it an informed decision. Marshall ran with his thoughts, spoke about them. Right or wrong, Anditka, right? Whether it was right or it was wrong, is not what to make that call. It's the way he did it, and then he went along with it. And people somewhere in there took offense to this thing. And then they said, whatever was done, and then now he's not being called. And then people come and say, no, this coach is not calling him. That coach hasn't been even here for 6 months. This year. Obey, if someone calls you today, you're called into the team. This coach has just been there for 30 days. The next thing is Obey is not called. Coach akanimaka. Akumaka nokuzivira kubi. Obey mnanokumaka is someone you've been crossing each other for a long time. This is the only person you say, we are akanimaka. Not you meet someone nuts babasa. What does he know about you? Nothing. So from these emotional point of views, this is where we can't sit and say, okay, let's look at it from this angle, from that angle, from that angle. From all these things, we come to that conclusion that this is wrong. The CAF messed up by allowing that game to continue. Senegal walked off the pitch. You don't need to get emotional about it. Hey, section ya kati no zoti, section ya kati. Section hiyo ya mutara hiyo. There's a section in note, if you walk off the pitch, you're not back in 2 minutes, the game is over. And the ref's decision is final. The ref didn't blow the whistle. Why didn't the ref end it? Obviously, he was communicating with match commissioner. Why did they end it? Match commissioner, why did match commissioner give the green light to say end that match, they walked off? So you can tell, Kuti, Someone above these guys was making a call, could you, don't do that. Let it go on. Let it go on. And then they come, and then 2 minutes later, they won't tell us. So these guys are boardroom, they're boardroom winners. How do you celebrate boardroom winners? Boardroom, these guys run the boardroom, and then we celebrate. You know, the whole thing stays the game. The whole thing stays the competition, stays the game. And then this is a small tournament. Say, they won't say it, we told you. They'll just be looking at you and say, we're waiting for you to say something. You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add what you're saying, that the interesting part on there is the fact that everyone who's come up and fought those that were talking negatively about AFCON have not come out and criticized this openly. And this is because they probably are earning a living out of AFCON, and they can't afford to disappoint whoever has been making those decisions. But that's where, for me, where the problem is. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I think it was bad on the night. It's worse now, where they've ended up changing the result of such a big tournament. But I think for me, it's you need leadership, and leaders, that Ray is saying, have to not be involved in the emotions of the game. You're only a leader, you're there to lead, you know.
Yeah.
And leading is one of the most difficult things if you're not careful, but also easy if you just lead naturally. What they should have done is exactly what's happened. The result has come through. Now, in fact, they should be dealing with the referees, and we should be knowing why that game continued. Not this. This is what the things they should be doing. There was no inkling that there was an appeal by Morocco. There was things going on. There was nothing. There was nothing. It just come from. Now we are hearing that Senegal is appealing now. Oh, you might as well keep quiet with Senegal's appealing process and just tell us if they've won or not in 2 months, so they can celebrate again. Because now they're not celebrating, and now we are hearing they're appealing. How did we not hear that Morocco was appealing? This stings. And going back to what you asked Ray about celebrating now, yeah, their captain has already said, no, I don't want to be part and parcel of this cup again. I don't want. We lost. This is now how embarrassing it is, because everyone now is going back to putting themselves in the right lane. The FIFA president said this is not under my watch. I don't agree with this, because everyone now everyone is running away. Because yes, so I think we just have to call it as it is. It's bad. I just hope, for the sake of the continent, this stain, we can quickly move away from it. Unfortunately, CAF is going to drag us into the mud again and again and again. And it's going to be embarrassing, because guess what? What Ray said, the next tournament, we're going to see less professional players going there. As it is, they've already turned the whole tournament to be played during rainy season to accommodate. Yes, I get it. I understand the European teams. Yes, they always think twice if they're signing an African player. They want to make sure that they get the best out of them before they go to their tournament. I get that. That's if we guys were sitting in the boardroom of a football club, we would be asking ourselves whether it's right to sign 4 average African players, because you're going to meet them and lose them mid-tournament. Those are genuine cause. And if you're looking at players, if you want to empower players, if you want clubs in Europe to take your players on and put them in their clubs without the fear of losing them for 6 weeks, whatever it is, I think it's a good call. But not, again, we go back, not having it every 4 years. Why? Let's have it every 2 years. It's been fun. This is the little. I remember someone, it's a different thing when Ayrton Senna passed away. A Brazilian woman said, the little joy we had has been taken away from us. This is exactly what CAF is saying. And interestingly enough, in the corridors of power in Africa, in CAF, they're not happy. So everything is flawed that CAF is doing. You're right, Ray. Why can't they just take the women games to South Africa? South Africa can host any tournament, cricket, rugby, on a switch like this. And Motsepe is there. Motsepe is there, and there's loads. You don't need a big country. You need 2 football pitches for African AFCON. Any country can host them. But again, there's political things going on behind, and my kids love AFCON. They've seen them from little ones when they were young. They've always been in and around. But that night, and then the other day, they said, Daddy, what's going on? Senegal have lost. Senegal have lost. It's bad, man. It's really it's bad. I
Yeah.
can't. Embarrassing. I've got Jamaican friends just texting AFCON results.
So it
Yeah,
was
You know,
the, it
it's
was
so,
the, do you know,
it's so embarrassing
do you know
when
what
friends
made
come
it,
and
do you know what made it worse for me is
Mm.
when it was bad enough. I got really angry about this decision by CAF, yeah. But what even drove me even mad is the fact that Morocco came out with a statement. That whole long statement, I didn't care what they said there. There was just a little part that really got to me. Oh, because CAF has done this, have made this decision, so now we can turn onto the women's tournament and prepare for it.
So there was
That
blackmail.
that tells me you have held CAF to ransom, yeah, and put them in a position where they do not know whether you're going to host the tournament, the women's tournament, until they've made a decision. And not only until they made a decision, until they've made a favorable decision
Mm.
to yourselves. Because if that decision went against them, were they going to host? I highly
Yeah.
doubt.
It
So,
stinks.
because if they were principled, they would say, we've got an appeal that we've made there. Whether we win it or not, we're going to make sure that this women's tournament is going to be a success. When you say we put the tournament into doubt because we've got a pending appeal, you are
Kevin,
holding.
they missed the penalty.
Yes.
We're not even touching. It gets worse and worse. They missed the
I-
penalty. It's
Yeah.
just.
Kim, Kim,
I don't know what to say.
if you grab Kumusha with an Sekuru and then you have the boo, later, you know what Sekuru would do? He would hold these cojones and tight so,
Mhm.
and then squeeze them. So, that boo follow what Sekuru is saying. He would turn it. This is what Morocco is doing. They held the cojones of CAF and said, 10 left. If you don't turn left, that women's thing is not happening. And now CAF is just turning left. And now, to make matters worse, FIFA says, look, hey, it's just we are not jumping in there. Why? Because they don't want that stain to come to them. They can smell it. It's reeking of nonsense. They can smell. They don't want it.
Listen,
They don't want it.
that guy didn't need any more problems because Donald Trump has started the war after he gave him a peace.
After he gave him the World Cup, and then you want to bring him more
Nobel
issues.
Peace Prize.
He's having another.
Press the wrong button. Everything is
Yeah.
Obey. I've always said, I've always said, at times, I live in Australia. I've been here for about 10 years. I've always said at times, Australians, at times I said to myself, these guys are a bit, too soft on the way they react to things. At times I realize what they do. They'll see what this decision is not. They'll just like, and then they just keep quiet. You understand later with, okay, it was, for progress sake, let's just
yes.
cool and let it go. This is women's cup that these guys are turning this whole tournament into a joke for. Recently, they were having AFCON in South Africa when they. Do you know those games are being played? Could Durban, Kunana, I think this is where Montreal Golden Arrows play. Imagine if they can play in game there. What to stop South Africa? Just tell South Africa, Mangwana, I want you to host this thing. They will do it. They already have the infrastructure. They never destroyed the infrastructure.
You touched on something very, very important. There
Yeah.
should have been a plan B. Just like, remember, Zimbabwe was meant to host an AFCON once.
2000.
And that went within 1 year. We heard about that. I can't remember where we were traveling from. And someone said we were just coming from a meeting. Because Zimbabwe, my understanding, refused to, the government said we will not take on any debts that comes with that tournament. Because remember, they don't make profit if you don't have sponsors. And then the tournament went to the next. My question is there no rule that if you're going to host a tournament and you withdrew for the sake of doing it, then you have to pay for the tournament? Is there no rule that if you're going to host a tournament and you withdrew for the sake of doing it, then you have to pay for the tournament? just to put the whole tournament in this, you should be banned as well. So,
True.
so you,
Yeah, true.
and you, because otherwise, where is this going to end? We hosting
Not
the
only
tournament. You know what? Our team in the Champions final, they lost in the club final. Or you don't invest that, you're not going to have your AFCON. Who will stop anyone to do that? It's underhand
not
tactics.
only not only because one country Garamba, if they pull out of their bid, isn't it? There's a bidding process that happens towards before
Yeah,
it's awarded
yeah.
to one country. So there's another country that
second
comes
best.
second.
Yeah.
That automatically it has to go to that country. You guys, you have refused. It has been, you've been declared the winners. If you do not accept the winning bid yourselves as the winning bidders, then it goes to the number 2 automatically.
Yeah.
So they should have had a number 2 ready. Already that number 2 is there, but why that decision has not been done, no one knows. That's why the
They've
question about
probably been
is.
paid not to be ready. I can guarantee you. They've been paid
For
not
me,
to be ready.
for me, to answer you on that here, it's not even the fact that the number 2 should be ready. It's the fact that whoever wins the bid should never have
Pull out.
any room to maneuver.
Yeah.
Should never have any room to maneuver, because you will be bringing the game into disrepute.
Thank you.
If you just accept the bid and sign on the dotted line and say we're going to host it, if you pull out because of frivolous reasons, not because your country has gone to war or anything, you should be banned from that tournament, and you should be banned even if you're not in that tournament, by virtue of being the host, you should be banned on the next tournament, because there has to be, like Obey said, I've never thought about that, but there should be a deterrence, because you've signed to say we are going to bring all these people here. And if you can't then just decide that, it's not like your house where you just decide, Obey has just had a go at me, I'm not going to have the party at my house. No,
That's what's happening.
it cannot be like that.
Do you know what Morocco is probably using? They're saying if you can allow Senegal to come back on the pitch, you're gonna have to listen to us as well. This is a snowball that's going where everyone now is saying, what's going to stop the next host to say, well, you listen to Morocco when they had an issue with you. We're not gonna host it if you don't do this. It's bad.
When is the CAS happening? When is the appeal happening at CAS? Because that thing has to.
Let me check.
Now, because that thing has to happen.
Just kept quiet.
No. They have to appeal.
They have to appeal.
But then we're not talking
They have
about
to
something.
appeal. Senegal has to appeal. They cannot let this continue. You see, because they have to prove.
There's an issue. There's something that obviously has been coming out about the very same scenario of Morocco, what they did when they I think, who was it? Were they playing? It's that long time ago when they did the same.
I've looked into it, Kev. I think there's something is not clear whether they really walked out of that pitch, because I think they were 1-1. Something happened, but I think there's a player who played in that game for Guinea said they didn't walk out. But I'm not sure if it's true, because I know there's something went around saying Guinea says give us back the trophy.
Yeah,
The Guinea one, it was in the group stages, wasn't it?
Yeah. With the Guinea one, Morocco just needed a draw in that match. Yeah. And they say that, I think I actually went on to AI, if I'm not mistaken, and it actually showed, what the amount of time that they were off the pitch, and then they came back onto the pitch, and then they still played. Yeah. So you then question, and say, so how far? Who determines on how far we can go back in terms of retrospective, decisions? Because someone is going to tell you about a decision that probably a lot of people were not even born. Yeah,
there's got to be a statute of limitation.
Yeah, so wait, the statute of limitations.
England.
You know what I mean?
There has to be a statute of limitations.
Yeah,
I like that when someone says,
who determines that?
England.
Who determines that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Might as well
So,
award England the
Andy,
1986 World Cup. Let's give it to England.
and
Because
okay,
Maradona used his
No, no.
hands. He used his hands.
Was it the
Let's
final
use
or
this and give it
semi-final?
to England.
It
Yeah,
was the
let's give it to England.
semi-final.
it was the same.
So you
It
got
was
a
the
but let's
final
give it to
altogether.
England.
Obey. If you go back to that England, 1986 World Cup, with Maradona, yeah, and you say England should have been given the win, then I will go back to 1966. Geoff Hurst scored a goal that didn't go in.
That did not cross the line.
It didn't cross the line, and England won.
Tanzanians
This-
should have been given a penalty against Morocco. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
You who came up with
There were lots of
with these
penalties.
2 minutes discussions. Hey, let's go to the penalties.
You see all these decisions, they come back to to put the game into worst case scenarios. And for example, talking about there should be plan B. When South Africa want to host the 2010 World Cup, right? There was a country that wanted to host as well. They started saying, will South Africa be able to do it? No. But they plan B, they're waiting, and they wanted commitment from the government, right? So the South African guys who went, and Danny Jordan and Jordan and all those guys, they started putting pressure so much on the government, and then the government undertook the responsibility. Okay, we will, help out. And then after the tournament was done in South Africa, imagine after 2010 World Cup, guess what happened? Someone somewhere said South Africa bribed their way to get the 2010 World Cup given to them to host. They started bringing, Sepp Blatter and all that. But do you know why? Do you know why that issue never went anywhere? No one cares. That tournament was done proper. No one cares. You take Sepp Blatter and his guys to coach. We don't care because South Africa did a magnificent job on that World Cup. No one cares. These guys, Morocco, the tournament was going well. Infrastructure-wise, everything. Until the script. This is why I have a problem with things that we do, where there's a lot of infringements coming in from whether it's politics, where you could tell. I don't know. I told these guys and I told some other people, and I said, every time Morocco plays, we're watching a delayed match. What do you mean? We are watching a match that's already been decided. Who's going further? Look at the decisions. You don't need to see decisions 3-4 times for you to tell Kuti this year has nothing to do with the game being played. This is designed to make someone in there win. So as it was going on, now it came to when they came to face Senegal. This is where the problem started. Senegal has got elite players in their team, same as Morocco. And these boys, they don't take nonsense because they are elite players. They know they're in the top echelon of the players in the world. They know, and I don't put that you don't tell me that I play this game too. Unlike if they were to play Zimbabwe, I would say, Vanana Hakimi and all those Tatanga, because of Ana Hakimi, and then we get emotional. I didn't say that. Kevin, I didn't say that. He did. But Senegal players, they're elite ballers. Those boys are elite ballers. They don't care. We don't care. You need me. Even I can stay away, but you need me to make your tournament be rated. We need those elite ballers to come from their big clubs, come and play. You understand? So this way, the game went into a situation where they decided to think, do we call off this, follow the rules, call it off, and then let it end, or do we try to negotiate, bring those boys back? That's when they overruled the commissioner and the referees. And they did that, not the commissioner, not the referees. They did that. They made that decision. And then 2 months later, they want to come and strip away their decision and then say, because Randy, you can't host the women's tournament.
Yeah.
Postpone the women's tournament. Postpone, find someone else. Tell them who wants to host the women's tournament. We're giving you 2 months to be ready. Let's go. It's that simple. We don't need rocket science. We don't need to be saying, like we're sending a man to the moon. No, this is football. South Africa, you guys have infrastructure. How long do you need? Do you need a month or two to put this into play? It will happen. South Africa will make it happen.
Wonder we can host it.
Yeah, you know what?
Achibumira,
For me, because I think we've gone on for this, for a long time because we end
yeah,
up
it's too
being here
much.
for
Yeah,
3 hours. Yeah,
yeah.
I would be interested, to know from Obey, what's your take on the issue Yambo raised, Yambo Tauro Mbichana, because it was
Yamashi.
going to be talked about Yamashi.
Yeah.
What do you think, to them?
I think
Mama mute.
the Zimbabwean
Okay, yeah, you're now off.
selection as it is, because I question a lot of things that's going on there. Obviously, when you have, then he was playing for Wolves, he would have been one of the top 3 players for Zimbabwe. So any logic tells you that he should be first on that team sheet, but he's not. Yes, he did that interview. I haven't listened to it fully. If I'm honest with you, when I heard it, it didn't sit well with me. I don't think you're saying anything new as such. I don't think he's lying. If I'm honest with you, I think there's some truth in that video. But again, we come to leadership. Who has made that call that he can't play football? Until when? For Zimbabwe, it's simple. If I do something that brings Zifa or Zimbabwean football into disrepute, it's got to be clear what it is, and I also have to know how do I get back into the team if he wants to come back into the team. It's a good example is Ben White. Ben White said, I don't want to play for England because they've humiliated me. Whatever happened, no one knows the host. But he came out, and Gareth Southgate said, I'm not going to call him. Right? And it's gone on, and he's been called. He said no, but it was always clear what was going on with Ben White. He's gone back to England, set up. He said, I'm available. They've decided to call him back. He's gone in. Someone, and Zimbabwe doesn't have a lot of players to have the luxury, in my view, of saying someone playing like Munetsi at the moment, we don't want you. We don't have the luxury. In fact, everything should have been done. I know he probably was injured, so maybe the tournament was too early for him, Kevin. But the plan B again, that should have been the room for negotiations and conversations to take place with him. If he needed to come up and apologize, then he'll come up and apologize. Whatever he needed to do. But the leaders within Zimbabwean football, I think, needs to understand that Zimbabwe doesn't have enough players to just banish someone at his best or at the top of his. I don't know. We never know. Maybe he's done something that maybe if all of us finds out, might turn around and say, "Oh, that's bad." But we don't know until someone big enough comes in. And Ray, I get him. I say he's right. That coach hasn't been there for too long. He wasn't there when whatever happened. And I don't think he would have taken any issue with his interview. If we're being honest, I don't think he criticized him, which one might say it was personal. It wasn't. The ZPSL chairman had just come into office, so I would have thought he's not part of that. Or the whole executive have just come into the office. So you start to think, again, we go back to the politics. Is there people, behind a lot of these football decisions? For me, it's a sad situation either way. And it will happen to another player. Trust me, it will happen to another player.
You see, what I would like to see happen in situations like this is the ZPSL chairman has to be like the go-between, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Mr. Mario is demanding an apology, and it's for some reason, for one reason or another, the player seems to be in a position not to be willing to give that apology. So you would expect the ZPSL chairman to come in between and say, guys, let's sit down, let's have a talk, and because we want Mashi to play for the nation. You also want the best players Zimbabwe has on offer as the coach. He has to be able to choose. So for us to be able to move forward, what shall we do? You guys sit down, let's talk. If Mashi has to apologize, then he apologizes. Or let it be made clear that Mashi was offered the
opportunity.
In a sit down, he was offered the opportunity to apologize, and he categorically refused. And then we know where the whole country knows where everything stands. But you see, when it seemingly is left, the situation is left to get worse. Like no one is offering an intervention. That's where it's not good. Yes, Mashi was wrong in that interview that he made, right? And Mario said, okay, he has to apologize. Okay, now Mashi is not apologizing.
Yes,
Mario
yes,
is not
Mario
moving
said
forward.
he has to apologize.
I think he did, yeah. I think he demanded an apology, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have we seen Pagatoti apology? Because nyaya yekuti Mario is demanding an apology, for me, or from what I've seen, it's something which is coming from bloggers and people, but I haven't
But
actually
he's
seen
asked
where.
for an apology for what?
Yeah, I haven't
Right.
seen it.
I would say on this, yeah. Okay. My sorry, how had you finished? Can I go ahead?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how I look at it, Obey. I think all the lads here know where I stand, with this here, because I've always looked at things from a player point of view, but I also look at things from a coaching point of view and from an authority point of view as well. Yeah. So that interview, even though sometimes it's not the contents of what you're saying, but it's where you're saying the things. Yeah, because if you say anything, even if it's true, but it looks like you're undermining the authority, the authorities, then you're creating a problem for yourself, and that's what Mashi did. Yeah, so even though he would have been saying the right things or the correct things, but it's the platform that he used which was wrong. And then that wasn't the only issue, because the other issue was to do with the discussion or the issues that became between Wolves and Zifa, with Zifa putting their cards on the table and saying, "This is us. We asked Wolves to put to have indemnity for and insurance for Mashi, because we've been told that he's got an injury, and Wolves did not provide that document or evidence to say that Zifa were wrong. So Zifa were never proved wrong." Yeah. So then for Mashi to then come out with what he was going on about, oh, I was fit and all that, the way that he said these things, it was something that was more of undermining the coach, because the coach has got to make the decision on whether Mashi can be in the squad or not. So that's the by and by. Like you said, it then comes back to the fact that we don't have that many players, of Mashi's caliber in our team. We want him, yeah. But when we want a player, we want him, but we also want, there to be principles that bind, everyone, within the team. And me and you, Obey, we know that players, we never the same. There are players who are more equal than others, yeah. But what should have been happening is things should have been happening privately, not publicly. Mashi, on both ends, because Zifa have got to understand that they've got a very good player who probably messed up and all that, and they've got to bring him back into fold, but he's got to apologize. Mashi as well, we can't sort of shield him from that. He's an adult, he's a professional, he knows where to go when he's messed up. He knows what needs to be done if he hasn't done the right things. So he also should have been taken, that on board and say, right, okay, what I cannot. I've messed up. I'm going to ring the coach and seek audience with him. I'm going to ring Magwizi and try to speak to him. But then when issues were coming out where whether it's verified or not, that was it somewhere saying it was Mashi's brother, who came out and said he will never apologize. You're antagonizing the authorities who you're supposed to be engaging with to get back into the team, because they will say you might be as good as you are, but principles matter. You've got to be, you've got to take you've got to take responsibility for your actions. So for me, I would say the best thing that could have happened is that Mashi should have sought audience with the coach to start with, because coach is the one who puts you in the team and not Zifa. Yeah, and then sit down with him and say, okay, messed up here and there. We all mess up. Even the coach can mess up, but there's no one who does everything right here. But speak to them. But if there's a point where we're being told that the player has got nothing to apologize for, so he's not going to apologize, that becomes a sticking point for me. I'm not going to support the player on that, because from what I saw or what I heard with my own ears from what he said, he undermined the authority. It's not, the case is not about whether he said the wrong things or the right things. It's the platform, and he's got to make it right. But then if he's saying no because I told the truth, so I'm not going to apologize, he's creating a situation for himself.
Yeah, I agree with you and I disagree with you. I agree with you in terms of corporate governance, Kuti. If anyone goes out into the media and says anything, then yeah, of course they are liable for disciplinary action. But in this case, with us having a player of that caliber, either an infringement or either a disciplinary issue. For example, I think we can reference Nyaya Cristiano Yeku Manu noted that interview. I think it was very clear that Cristiano was sort of elbowed out, and there was sort of a clear disciplinary path Yakaitwa take into account. I think there have been several other issues, like the recent issue ya Salah in Liverpool. It was clear Liverpool came out and they fined Salah, and they made it clear that Arfana with so, and Salah eventually spoke to his manager, and they ironed out the issue. So the issue with me here is that ZIFA, as the corporate body, also have a responsibility. If Mashi has a disciplinary issue, in this case, I believe he does because he went to the media and exposed his employer. They have to call him in for a disciplinary hearing, and they have to go to the media and state Kuti, Masha Munetsi, our vice captain, or a player who's been playing as our vice captain, is not being called because of this. We've called him for a disciplinary hearing, and he has refused to come, or he has not refused to come, or he's gonna come. And then when he comes, we are then gonna say Kuti Tongo Wakende Wakati, if there's a fine, it's spelled out, and then there's no more room for speculation. The problem that we are now having is that we are creating negativity within the team, because every player quit a withdraw for legitimate reasons. We had Maswani said withdrawing, saying he's got a knock. A lot of fans are not believing that he's got a knock. They are believing it's in solidarity with Mashi, which I don't think it's true. But
I think that's
creating an
speculation.
environment for what? For speculation. It's the same with Sean. He withdrew. Arkunzi has a bit of a knock. People are not believing it. It may be true that a knock, but people are not believing it because of apana clear guideline in terms of the disciplinary action. Yeah. Go ahead, Ray.
OJ, I hear what you're saying. I see where you're coming from. But see, I'm going to stand with Mushi here. As a father, you have rules in your house. If Mwana doesn't do that, you don't tell Mwana to negotiate behavior yako. You don't do that. Like I'm saying, like I've always said this, and I'm always saying this. When you become pro, especially athletes, when you become a pro, you don't necessarily have to employ your relatives to manage your affairs, because if they don't know or don't understand how things work, and it's actually detrimental. You are the one who will lose because the decisions they make you do. Right now, what's happening, Andidika, my fans and his advisory board, is that they are making Marshall think and believe he's bigger than Zifa. He's bigger than everybody else because he's scoring and he's playing in League One. Andidika, no one disputes his abilities. No one and no one is saying we don't need Marshall. We do need Marshall. But do we need Marshall the expensive Kuti? He's going to have a demigod status in the team. He becomes an untouchable. How many other untouchables are we going to raise out of the national team?
But Ray, let me
finish.
I need to you Papo. Imimi Mkomare, if you have a disciplinary issue kubasa kwenyu, is it not that your manager will call you for a disciplinary hearing? Not that you will not submit for a disciplinary hearing.
But
if it goes to the case of having a disciplinary hearing.
Yeah, but didn't Makanika say he needs to apologize to me? He said it. He says he apologized. He told him. He told Makanika is on record saying he needs to apologize to me. He knows that. Makanika said it. And why is he apologizing? Because I know you're superstar. You apologize. I'm not giving an example about having bad advice around you. Remember when Barcelona bought Neymar Jr.? They bought Neymar Jr. and why was he bought? He was bought to be the heir and it Parker to Lionel Messi. When he got there, he knew why he was there. He accepted the responsibilities. But when somewhere along the lines, when Messi Parker injury, that boy carried that team. That's why they bought him to do that. But you see, his father came in his ear and said, "You don't need to be here." Because the father was seeing dollar signs. And you're seeing dollar signs. That's when he moved to PSG. Tell me something. Do you believe Neymar reached his ultimum in football wise?
No.
All because of a bad decision made by advisors. And then there's a so-called Munetsi guy who says he's a lawyer. First I can a lawyer, I don't feel Jerry. This is not a lawyer. He comes and then he says, Mash is not going to apologize. You know, this guy in essence is saying, Zifa, this lawyer, in essence is saying the whole Zifa as the football governing body in Zimbabwe must go and seek audience to Mash and apologize to Mash for Mash to come and play. Let me tell you.
Ray, listen. What has to happen, like I mentioned earlier, but probably you were not there. I was saying Zifa, the chairman, has to be at the intermediator between the two. Isn't this dispute is between the coach and the player, right? They say they are seemingly not budging. Paguda, someone, an outsider, and we are opened up in between these two guys. You guys get talking because it's not benefiting the country. Isn't it? That's what Zifa is there to begin with, to make Zimbabwean football better.
Yeah. Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Say Alex Ferguson. David Beckham. You guys need to understand football dynamics. Coach has a player who does teacher give me data between coach and player. Coach in Dimambo, Canary national team coach Andy, and Dibaba no Garapan, no Garapan. Say Alex David Beckham. You know, you need to understand dynamics of coach ultimate power team. He has to call Zifa and say, "Can you guys call mechanic? I need to talk. I want to apologize." Not to that the Zifa to say mechanic we are going to on a show.
Yeah.
I
think something. Yeah. I think he should repoga. And probably I can. I'll say this and I'll refer this to Obey. Yeah. The thing in border now, it's just as footballers and it tambas here. We were passionate about the game and the good game race on to tamba. The guti ugaona wachairwa. Yeah, that's the language that I use. And it's ugaona wachairwa. You do everything you can. Kuti uzive kuti wachairwe. You know, ndukutaza papi ndikuita say you'd seek audience. Nani na coach.
Yes.
Kuti ndukutaza papi ndikuita say, you know, we didn't really wait for a coach to come to me kuti anduze kuti zvewondra kudropa because of A, B, C, D. So now it goes back when we talk about Mashi Nyaye status. If you then believe your status now and think everyone owes you an apology or everyone owes you a game. It becomes a problem now because hauchatarisa from a mentality ekuti I really want to play. Saka, because now chirikuitika now with a lot of people supporting Mashi because my fans, they don't want to look. My fans only look at 90 minutes. They don't look at what happened with training. Watuka coach here, watuka vanwano, watch a uniform here, say they don't care about that. All they want is to see you on the pitch. So a lot of things happen in a football club prior to a game. Yeah. Saka, now, if whatever has happened, if Mashi, we expect Mashi, in talking as a footballer, as a player, I expect Mashi Gutizo, if it means so much to him to play for Zimbabwe, you'll be knocking, you'll be banging on that door to say, hang on a second, okay, okay, but let's sort this out. Because now, now, bear in mind, our association, yes, Nana English, FA as well. We have to remember kuti anzichi ziva zvaurikuita based on vanhu vaurikudhila now. Because my association edu wacho unofuta anogona kuva ne vanhu vanoti wakuda kuzviita chi mudhara muti munomo tikuda kugarisa mudishi. Yeah, they can do that, and we know that is possible. But what matters more for you is you want to play. You want to represent your country. What do? You go out of kasheo kako cannot even my advisor apologize, because you know what, ukaona as a player just failing to say I apologize so that you play, then probably you don't care enough for you to want to play. Because if you really care enough to play.
Kevin, listen. We are at an impasse here, right? What is the way forward? Marinakis arutaura kuti andiskus obaja, he is not coming here. He is not going to play for the nation unless he apologizes.
Mashi is saying, to go and apologize.
Mashi is saying, I'm not apologizing. Right, there needs to be a mediator. If then you
no.
All right.
No.
Let me help you.
All right,
Mashi pays all these people that are speaking on his behalf.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
No, listen, I think you can argue that. But if I'm the product and you are representing me, the assumption is you work for me.
No. Isusu amwe Mashi tinotongo musapota because ndoyo kumabvu. But pari wrong. But I've never received a cent Mashi. So it is wrong. Yes, it is wrong to have an assumption.
No.
It is wrong to have an assumption that Mashi ari kubhadhara vanhu. Mashi should actually swallow his pride and go and apologize. But ndinochiyana na Kevi. But
Oliver, let me finish. Oliver. The problem with Oliver, you're taking this personal. We spoke about emotions earlier. That when a statement is being said, it's not directly meant to you. If you, Oliver, writes and come up and say this statement is on behalf of Marshall, then you fall into that category. If you are supporting him as a fan and a supporter from a distance, that's a different position. I'm saying if I come out and make a position that this is on behalf of Munetsi, this is what we are representing, then the assumption is I'm his brand. I'm representing his brand. I can come out and say everything against Zifa, but Zifa needs to prove that I'm speaking on behalf of Munetsi. If I'm not, then they need not to involve Munetsi in that. And this is the situation we have. If Munetsi, like Kevin is saying, if he wants to play, he will be telling his team what to do. So he goes and plays football. Because the buck starts and stops with him. And
Obey, I
and one of the things that has happened is the tournament has been played. Football will move on.
Yeah.
The tournament is gone and finished. This Botswana tournament, these boys probably pulling out and thinking, this is not a bigger. If it was AFCON, maybe they all have turned up. This is the reality of football. But the brand needs to be better than these boys. This is where Zifa is failing. If Zifa puts the football team on a pedestal where we all want to go and play for them. When I say, I'm talking if you're a player. You're waiting for that names to come up to see if I've been called in. That's the difference. Because guess what? Kev, you like what he said. If you don't play a game, all you've done is open the window for the next player to to be better than you. Because if I come in as a goalkeeper, plays a blind, I've given a coach a question. Next time, he's not going to just come up and say he's not playing. He's going to have to think twice. And that's how football operates. And don't take it lightly when a player doesn't turn up for a
If the
game.
choir master is replacing me, man.
Yes.
I totally agree with what you have said. Pandangoita a question was kuti vari kubhadharwa to say on behalf of Machi. Of course,
you did not understand, Oliver. You did not understand the question. The statement.
Context. When I then later on comprehended the context where you are coming from, I totally agree with what you are saying. But no, Siana na Kevi pan one. Machi has to apologize to Zifa, and Zifa has to accept Machi's apology and then talk to Marinika. But to have a lineup yevanu yekuti anofanira kuapologize kuna coach or apologize to Zifa and everything, guys, we don't want to set a precedence yekuti zvinofamba sei. Look at the Senegal issue. People are made with CAF, but they are not even made with the committee that made that decision. So you go to the higher board, and the higher board can protect you by Zasa.
Obey. Obey. Let me ask you a simple question. Mira Ray, ndikobvunza Obey a simple question. Obey. Tichitamba bhora, all right. Ngatiboti Dynamos, handiti. Ukaenda kuna Bla George, yeah? Wobva wana apologize for something, but mofu vasiri happy. Waitamba here because waenda kuna apologize kuna George mofu variwo vari kuiseta.
But the problem in all these things we are talking about, I think one of the things we should be very careful about, someone spoke about, you might be dealing with a leadership that's not going to give a hoot about a lot of things that maybe all of us think is important. It's important for Marshall and his team to understand what they want for Marshall. This is it. If I was Marshall and I don't want to play for Zimbabwe anymore, I'm not going to bother with any nonsense that's coming from anyone telling me what to do.
Yes.
And if Zifa doesn't want Marshall at all, if that decision has been made to that higher level, they don't care what anyone is saying. The question is, who wants it more? If I was advising anyone that I very close with, behind the scenes I'll be saying, right, what do you want? You want to play for Zimbabwe? We're going to do everything we have to do for you to go back and play. As simple as that. Or maybe as a team we believe it's been undone to a point where maybe our product is better off without Zimbabwe. Then we move on. It's simple as that. But I think for me, again, it's about the leadership. Do we have enough? I think someone should be going there and saying to his camp, come on, let's have a talk about it. The tournament is gone. Let's say we've punished him enough. He's missed that tournament. All of the points we're talking, I think they are relevant at different stages. Right? There has to be a message to every other player that you don't just do what you want. Even these ones withdrawing for this, we need to be sure that they're injured. Is it a case that is in Botswana and I don't want to go there? I want to wait for another good tournament. You know, there's a lot to dissect.
Obey, can I come in there and support you real quick before I lose my train of thought? You know, you said as a player, you want to see if your name is there. You've been called up. Kevin, you know, they're going to train my trainer Tuesday to Thursday, and Friday on the FA ndo pakuselectwa team ba weekend. Munhu wese anenge achireva. And if you feel good here apa nandichimhanya wosiwa. You would say, hey, ndasiwa boss. I don't know but coach, I feel like ndandipusha can I know kuti ndepapi. What you why can't I also uzwa kuti ukuona mfano wangu. When we're doing that, you're meant to do that like I've told you before. Do that, your game improves. And you take that, you work on that, and then also in the way talking about Mashi's team to look at things and see, look, how best can we come to a conclusion to make our guy play? You know, the Kobin Mtunzi, you guys need to understand being called national team is not an easy feat. A small tournament in Botswana, gentlemen, there's no small tournament when it comes to national team. Do you know these guys they're coming to make a statement, Kuti. That Gepira, someone is going to sit out. This boy is going to give it all he has. He's going to make sure the mechanic guy. The first thing when he calls the team for bigger thing, I'm going to defender Cobbin. I'm telling you, all these boys who've been called, they're taking this chance right there.
That's the way it should be, right? And also,
Yeah.
the coach has to develop that environment. Because if I don't turn up for the Botswana tournament and I walk straight back into the team next time round, there's two things. Either the players that went and got the opportunity to play are nowhere as good as me, so I got away with it. Or maybe someone got injured who could have started ahead of me, and lucky me, I got back in my place. That's how football works. We always talk about this. If a player gets injured, I say to anyone around me who plays football, that's your opportunity. That's your opportunity to make sure the coach doesn't smile at you telling you you're not starting next time. Your coach has to think twice. But this is a long-term thing. We can go to what Cape Verde did. They didn't go. Is it Cape Verde that didn't go to AFCON but went to the World Cup? Because they sacrificed the AFCON and went and said to everyone that was playing in diaspora, which is another big topic for me. I don't buy the idea that someone playing in Zimbabwe is good enough to someone playing in championship football in UK. It's a culture that needs to be embedded into ZIFA. Down that I'll give you a very good example. And if you remember that when Zimbabwe was playing in the recent AFCON, what's his name, the defender that came on,
Galloway.
Everything settled at the back. Everything settled. Whatever you want to say, it was like, what's happened? Oh no, that boy has come on. Everything settled, and that's what you get. And if we don't understand that, and then think, we can wing ourselves in and get players here. If I tell you some things that's happening, you'll be shocked. I've got a 16-year-old boy playing above where one of those strikers is playing. He was saying to me, what does that mean then? He's going to play for Zimbabwe. But hang on a minute. I'm on loan 2 steps above him. Does that mean?
Wow.
But for me, I'm saying, no, you can't go and play for the national team. But I haven't got a call. But I'm just saying the culture has got to change for all of these things that we're touching on. Players should like to go and play, and ZIFA should do it. ZIFA should do it. It starts from the top and it will filter down to the bottom.
That's very true, Obey. I think ZIFA is not creating a conducive environment that accepts Kuti. We have got. Do you know? Honestly speaking, on paper, Zimbabwe has got the best footballers. Youth, under 17, under 21, under 23. But good diaspora. Team here. Those people can actually play, and my professional clubs to the extent they can actually gel. But challenge you going na Ray. Vanoti under 17 turikuda kuti vamangwana vave vasangane, and we've got plenty of young guys who are playing very good football, but havasi kuzombokufawaniswa mukana. Why? Because that attitude that ZIFA has to say we own football, and forgetting that even they are custodians yebhora remuZimbabwe due to the fact yekuti isusu vanhu takavasarudzwa kuti vaende ikoko, but because vakasarudzwa nemari dzavo, vakashandisa mari dzavo, they think that they owe kuenda muZIFA to mari dzavakabhadhara than kuvanhu. That's why you find kuti issue ya Munetsi is becoming so topical, but vanhu vakangana nezveNational Sports Stadium, and yet we have got people who are there in ZIFA vari kufanira kugadzira National Sports Stadium. These people are giving us a play.
If you have a very good national team, in my view, all the knock-on effects on everything else will go straight, because you will have a product that will drive you. You talked to Oliver about diaspora players. For me, there's loads of them. I go around a lot Saturday, Sundays with my boys around the country, in the UK I'm talking about. Everywhere, I can guarantee you, we laugh about it. There's a Zimbabwean boy playing, and they're very good. They might not be good enough to get maybe to the Premier League as far as maybe people will get to know them. But in my view, they'll be good enough, if not to compete at the very least, to have an opportunity to play for Zimbabwe. Maybe there's something that needs to be done in terms of the parents that's got these kids. I would love, my kids would have gone and played for Zimbabwe under 17, but they were doing their exams. I reached out. I said, if there's enough, I want them. You tell me what tournaments are available, because I don't want them to go and play for the first team straight away. If they can,
you actually
good luck
reached out.
Yes, I wanted them, and I was given the details. And when I got back in the dates of the tournament that was played in Blaoyo, I didn't want them to go and play there. I wanted them to go into camp, and the decision is then made I wanted them to be seen because, let's be fair, someone's got to tell them where these kids are. And if you want them to be part of the Zimbabwean, and I know if they'd gone into the 17s, whether people like it or not, that will be the similar group you play with until you get to the national team. Because you get to know them, you get to embed in the culture, they get to understand. One thing we should not underestimate, it's not easy to play for Zimbabwe in terms of the preparation, in terms of the traveling, in terms of that's why some of these boys are thinking, I'm not doing it this time, because they would have been. I remember Kev will tell you, sleeping at the airports. It happened recently for Nigeria. If it can happen for Nigeria, the game is called off because there's no plane.
What about
This
Zimbabwe?
is something. It's hard to come and tell people, and then people think you're on a bad mouth. If we were in Cote d'Ivoire, found out that we didn't have the tickets to proceed to the destination. I think it was Guinea. Where did Titi Camara used to play for? The Liverpool Titi Camara.
Yeah, Guinea.
Was it Guinea?
Guinea,
we were going there. We're going there. This is a true story. So we sat at Cote d'Ivoire International Airport, and every time there was a seat in the plane, the first 11 was then selected, and the coach. So we needed 12 seats to start with. So the first 12 went that the game will kick off at some point the following day or the day after. And then every now and again, a name is called on the intercom. Obey, can you come? This is what you get. But I never came back and complained about it because I understood the culture in it. And I wanted to play. Yes, people can argue that there's the money, the remuneration. Fine. Maybe these boys have got enough. They don't need. But I think for me, if they go to AFCON, have a brilliant AFCON, your doors are open. This is what I'll be speaking to them about. That's it.
Obey, you know what? I'm so glad that you came here today and we were talking about this because these are some of the things, that I try to mention, to people, but it's nice to have someone who understands that culture as well. Because what sometimes people don't understand is that, as a footballer, Atisma Bambi,
no,
we know the people who we are dealing with, the way that I deal na coach weku triangle could be different from the way and dilana na coach wechi weku wangi. The way and dilana na chairman where certain team is different. So the point that I'm trying to make there, vanhu vakatonga na Munetsi avana kubva ana kukurira ku England or mu Europe mekuti anonzi he was just accustomed to proper straight principled professionalism like that. He experienced some of these things that we're talking about. So sometimes actions whatever you do unoita uchiza vanhu vauri kudhila now. You see, Munetsi would know maybe kuzifa kweka ndikabehave in a certain way they can react in this manner. Vanogona kureacta zvisiri favorable kwandiri. But if I do the exact same thing, maybe Wolves, they would actually listen to me and try to change that. Saka at every point where you are, you should know the primary thing that you want. Kuti kana uri kuda kutamba, if your primary goal is to play, you have to suit the environment that you are there. Panguva iyoyo. You see, and this is the reason why Obey has mentioned even vana matwins boys zichiuya kuka vanofana kuunderstanda havauye vachifunga zvekucambridge zvavanoita kucambridge chete. They have to understand kuti kana tasvika kuZimbabwe it could be different. It could be different. So how do we deal with this difference? Because if I try to do what I do, if I try to do in Zimbabwe what I do in Cambridge, people, even the players around me, might not be okay with it because it's not the culture. The culture is different. That's the reason why Vichinzi, every player, Tango is very important. Like Obey said, Munetsi, the first thing, Chiripo, before anything, vanhu vake vanofana kuziva kuti what do we want? Tiri kuda kutamba, does he want to continue playing for Zimbabwe? Or he doesn't want to play for Zimbabwe? If he wants to play for Zimbabwe, this tactic has got to change from how he operates in Europe, and deal with Zimbabweans is how you deal with Zimbabweans. You see, that's the if you do that as a football player, you always be on the right side.
Yeah.
Kevi, the funny part of it is kuti anokwanisa kuuya Munetsi wacho obva atanga kukanyika game racho, and the people will never forgive him, and mafans anotanga kutaura zvakawanda.
That's the reality of being
Do
a
you know
football player.
it's funny auya apuwa platform obva akanya kana obva aita zvakaita nakamba, people will never forgive him. But if he humbles himself, I know Munetsi speaks to, sorry, I might even say the name of the person who is his brother, Ali. Gangoenda kakuna Ali anokwanisa kuenda kuna Magwizi and then ask for an apology on his behalf. Because remember, he's 30 now. And the next AFCON, he'll be 32 probably. But he might not even have the opportunity to match dollar for dollar. So I think it's entirely up to him if he still wants to.
The majority of the boys that went there, yes, there might be money on it, but they wanted to they wanted the platform to make. If that 16-year-old boy that came on, I was rooting for him. I was going, it don't matter whether we're qualifying or not. Go on, do what you can. Give us something where someone is watching things. I like him, and his career will change. And these are the things that I think the players that wants to play for Zimbabwe, I would say to them, you got to be clever, like Kelvin says. Zimbabwe is going to use you to play for them, but if you're clever, you can also use Zimbabwe to go to another level. This is the difference perspective, right? These boys coming from diaspora, they don't need Zimbabwean money to survive. They got enough, in my view. Anyway, I might be wrong. I stand to be corrected, but I'm telling you, the majority of them. And if my kids were, or anyone's kids were Messi's level, I think there'll be a question whether they're going to play for Zimbabwe or a different nation because they've got the opportunity. But the majority of them, no, they're not stupid. They know the European door is closed, right? So let's accept that. So I'm going back to Zimbabwe to get that platform that this country that maybe I might want to play for is not going to give me. That's the reality. And they also need to know that, you know what? So if I go there and do it, look at what the boy from Scotland did. Masani. One goal changed the whole perspective of who he was. Whether that coach didn't like him before or what, because he made sure that the next game, the coach cannot leave him. That's all you can do in football for me. That's all you can do. And that sadly, I think for the majority of the diaspora boys going, I think they're missing that. I can't believe Tawanda did not start that game. If I was Tawanda, I would have done. Maybe he did. I don't blame him. I'm not saying he didn't. I would have done everything I can. I would have made sure, like Mashani said, did if I got the opportunity. Tawanda is miles better than some of the people that were playing. I see him. I saw him against Arsenal. The boy is quick. I saw him in South Africa. The boy is that team had enough players for me to change things, to go far than where we finished. I just don't know what's happening in the background. Even the boy that plays for Sheffield Wednesday, he can't be bad, to not play for Zimbabwe the whole tournament. Oh, come on, man. I don't know what happens in that camp.
That's where it raises selection questions. Are these players being selected on merit? You see, because we had a kid who went to that tournament, Chakuchich. He wasn't even playing. I think he had only started 3 games for Scotland. There was who is this guy? Is it Mawuchi, who had 16 assists, who wasn't even called to the tournament? Georgia, yes. Georgia, yes. So he wasn't even called for that tournament. So through select our players on merit here, or what exactly are we basing our selection process on? Or someone is whispering in the coach's ear and then giving them ideas of players that they want to be in the national team. And if that be the case, then we are probably far west from where we want to be. We are years and years, decades behind where we are supposed to be, because the coach should be the ultimate person selecting a team, making selection, watching people play, and then decide, I want you in my team, I want you in my team, I want you. You come over and let me see what you can do for me.
Good.
But it
You're
seems like that's not the case at the moment, and then that's where the problem lies in.
I think the pudding in every football tournament or football team is in the results. If that team had gone on and finished in the semi-final, we won't be talking the way we're talking. If that team had gone and done wonders and reached the final, we won't. So I think if the idea is accountability at every level, accountability in appointing that manager, the credentials that were used to make sure that we got a team coach, but we are where we are. And I think for me, once a decision has been made, it then comes to how do we move forward. And I think the people that around that team just needs now to pull in the one that, no matter how wrong we are, sometimes it could be wrong as a group, but they're there. Someone said they are there.
And I think
them and let's get on with it.
The point as well that we've got to look at. That's why I've never really bothered much about what happened then, because look at how the squad was selected. Yeah, they used 4 coaches to select certain players. Yeah, and coaches were selecting players who they think would be good enough. In that, was it 52 or 54 players? Yeah, that tells you that the coach was not in the frame where he could make decisions solely on his knowledge. Yeah, because he came in too late and he didn't know, but a lot about the players. So it's now when we then can actually look at what's happening now and put the sole focus on that coach, because we're saying now, what, you've had this time, you've traveled to Europe, you've been watching these boys playing in Zimbabwe and all that, and you're making those decisions now whatever decisions are being made are on the coach now. They're not, because the last time, what, probably I could guarantee the majority of players who were chosen out of that 50 plus, he didn't know them.
Of course, he didn't know them, because some of them he hadn't even met them before he saw them tournament.
Yeah.
It was the first time at the tournament that he was meeting them. So he had no idea who the players were.
He's saying he could have gone past them in the corridor, not realize that.
and you can only
not recognize them at all.
You can only attribute that issue to Zifa. That was Zifa.
That one is on Zifa.
But now it's on the coach now to select, however, he sees things. And you know what? Like we always say as well, as fans have got every right, to want certain players to play. But on the other hand as well, there's one thing that normally misses with the fans, which is you don't really know the background stories of why certain players are being picked and why some are not being picked. Why certain players have been picked, but they were earmarked to play, but they're not playing. There's all sorts of things that happens in dressing rooms, that fans don't really care much about. What? If today, let's just say it's preseason, and all the players are firing on all cylinders and all that, and the first game is played, and someone like, say, Munetsi or Chirewa is on the bench. Straight away, the fans will be like, oh, yeah, before the game is played and you see the lineup, oh, why are they on the bench and all that?
Yeah.
But then it could be that when the game starts, you see a certain young player you didn't know bossing it about, and you think, oh, okay, that's the reason why he was on the bench then, yeah? Because the coach has already seen this young lad, but you haven't, because he haven't been at training. He's seen everything that he wanted, in that preseason, but to be sure that this player can play. And I'll go back, just briefly to Munetsi. Yeah, his age now, he's got to be careful. He's got to really know what he wants. If he wants this continuation with the Zimbabwe national team, he's got to sort himself out now, because what's going to happen now is that some kids can come in there, or even himself, he can come in like, what Gono has said, and he starts putting bad performances, and some players start playing better than him. Then all of a sudden, you find yourself, you on the sidelines, and you're thinking, oh, you know what? I wasted time, messing about that time when I wasn't playing, when actually I could have been solidifying, my position, because bora tinopera tese takatamba tichitonje takaipa, you know what, but rinopera.
We got to respect him as well as an individual and human being, and I think Kev, you touched on something there. For all we know, there might be something serious, personal. That is, because I don't think it doesn't come across to me. I don't know him. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know him. The best I've done is heard him talking and seen him on TV. He doesn't come across to me as a stubborn person. I don't know him, but so I could be corrected. But I've always known that there are times when, Kev, you know this, there are players that you know, everyone is talking about them, but they don't really know exactly what's going on. And when it comes out, many would go, oh, did you know what I mean? And that's why I'm saying the transparent things could have been handled much better. Even Ziva could have been, even in this situation, Ziva could even have protected him as well. You know, in a certain way where everyone's got to be clever about this, that he will feel the love as well, because he's human. There might be some, it might have been told something that even you and I, if it happens to us, will have a different view of things. So I think people need to exhaust it and then respect time, that in time will heal and things will move. Someone said he might come back and have a bad day. But what if he comes back and wins us the AFCON? You got to think about it all around. We can't criticize this boy forever. Whatever has happened has happened. But the best outcome will see him play football again for Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe doing well. That's my opinion.
You see, my point that I wanted to raise, which is similar to what Obey was saying, is we haven't had a lot of speaking on the part of Munetsi after this whole scenario has happened, right? For all we know, he no longer wants to play for the national team. And if he no longer wants to play for the national team, regardless of how many times the coach says he has to apologize, he will be like, screw you, I'm not doing nothing of that kind. He remains quiet, right? But how are we going to know his position if someone doesn't approach him and say, Mashi, where do we stand with you? Do you want to play for us or not? Right? If that is there is an issue, coach is expecting an apology. Someone has to approach him and see his side of things. For us to say, okay, we are waiting on him to voice out. What if he doesn't voice out? See, what then raises a problem is that fans are left in limbo. They don't know what is happening. And then when they don't know what is happening, they start talking like they are talking now. And they are mostly basing their talk on hearsay and on those bloggers writing whatever, passing their opinions as facts. You see, but someone has to make an effort so that this whole thing, we have an official side or an official view. This is why I was saying Zifa has to play an important role in this case, reintegrating the player back into the fold. So it's imperative a communication between the coach and the player. And if that communication is not happening, someone has to make that move for that communication to happen. Okay, because we are never going to know Munetsi achadi kutamba bhora unless tamvunza. But we are not in a position yekuti atikendenge kuti Mashi ari kuda kutamba here kana kuti haasi kuda kutamba. Because
sorry to cut you out. I think Obey has to go. So Obey, did you have any last words? Anything that you'd want to raise before you go? And
no.
Anything about your beloved Dimbare?
Yeah, it's interesting watching them from a distance, man. It just brought a topic. You know, we were talking about it before we started. I think it's good to share this. I think when you want to be close, and sometimes they're thinking, I don't like what's going on, but football loving people, you always get drawn back to. It's good to see them doing well. I am in touch with a few people. I got to know what's going on. But it was good to see them the other week, you know, pulling the crowds they do. I was surprised. I thought maybe they might not be able to do it. I wish them all the best. I think it's always a sleeping giant when Dynamos, Highlanders, Caps, they're not doing well. And as soon as those three starts doing well, everything comes back to football. They were good days. And I just hope that someone, in terms of, as Ray said earlier, I think it comes from administration. If they can do better in the way they're running football there, Dynamos, Highlanders, Caps maybe has had a little bit of stability. I don't know much about the Highlanders, but Dynamos, oh my God, it's been tough. It's been tough to watch from a distance. It's been really, really tough. I just wish they can open up and really do what other clubs have done in Africa, where they've gone professional in terms of administration. Never mind the players, because if the administration runs it properly, in my view, the best times, if you think about it, you can always have negative about someone. But Svelan was there, Hove was there. They were some of the best administrators, and it's not a coincidence that they those teams did well throughout. I wish them all the best. Yeah, I think most of them don't even know who I am. So that's
I think
so it's hard. So there will be a lot of them. Yeah.
Obey.
Yeah,
so me and you have known each other for donkey's years, but there's one thing that you probably didn't know, because we've never really talked about it every time we meet. Do you actually know that I'm a Zimbabwe fan?
No, you never say that. You've come across as a Cape United, because we crossed that path a lot when he was on the other side with Joe.
Born, I had to call Zimbabwe fan from a young age, but we kept going. So even in the Zimbabwe, it's like split loyalties. It's just difficult, because there's no way I could
as a
say,
young boy, I'll say it now.
To that,
Something was wrong with you as a young boy to support other team than Dynamos. If he was in Harare, I'm telling you now, during our age, you know this. It's only when people started earning and started disassociating themselves with Dynamos is a bit violent, I'm gonna go. My brother did it. As soon as he started earning, he said, "No, I don't want. I got tear gas the other night. I'm not supporting them. I'm going to Caps." But listen, I think it's I think there's something to do with sport. I would have said football, because that's what I know most.
Yeah.
That prepares you to be able to engage with a lot of people. The majority of sportsmen are easy with everyone. Because you play against KV. Do you know the first person that helped me in UK was Dumisani Mpofu? Do you remember him from Zimbabwe Sense? And I had only played against him, not be friends with him. But when I got into UK, he's the first person I bumped into. He was driving already then, I think 2001. And he said, "Oh, Majita, what's going on?" I was carrying bags from Tesco. He said, "I've got a car in cold and winter." And I look, even up to now, every time we meet, because I've got that respect. And if you ask us where it came from, it was playing against each other. Not as friends, but the realization that actually, you know what? We needed each other to do as good as we did. And I think this is why I've always had time for football and at any point and anywhere. It's such a beautiful sport. Look at us. It's been 3 hours, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
But and we've not even exhausted much, because we're passionate about it. And think people miscalculate being passionate and being enemies. And disliking people. Like Ray said earlier, why would you dislike someone? Because he supports Caps. But you need him, because that's why the rivalry is so good. Because and I'll even put Tostao there. Tostao was one of my best friends. But if we were playing, you wouldn't even realize it. But I used to share the room with him at national teams, every level. It was me and Tosi in the same room. Desmond was my best friend. But when Tosi was there, I'll share, because there was something in there, me knowing that I'm sharing a room with my enemy when it comes to 3 o'clock. But I wish them all the best, and it's good as well that there's new clubs as well bringing what everyone's got a part to play in football.
Yeah.
Those, no matter what we say about these other Binga, come on. They sometimes I just want to be in those stands with everything that I see there, and I'm in football here. I'm not talking about anything else. It was good to be here, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Obey. Yeah.
Good having
Okay,
you.
cheers.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
I'll
much.
call. I'll
Thanks
call
for
you to
coming.
chat. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
It was a good chat. It was a really good chat with Obey.
Yeah, it was a
That's
very
good.
good one. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good one.
Yeah, it's so it's interesting. Benjani is currently on a draw, Akumana draw run, which has continued. Unfortunately, Ray is now working, so it's no longer here. I would have loved to hear his comment, but I hope Benji can work out some magic and improve the team, because very soon the knives will be out for him.
Yeah,
No,
the
no matter
draws cannot
no matter what
continue.
rival, no matter what rivalry, for me, it's always been. It's like yeah, in Zimbabwe, I never want Dynamos, Caps United, Highlanders to be out of the Premier League, no matter what. I would never want, you know, so Arsenal, Man City, Man U, Chelsea, Tottenham, you know, what those teams, always want them, you know, in the Premier League. You know, you can imagine a Premier League without Tottenham. You know, there's teams where you, no matter what you think about them, they've got to be there. They've got to be there. You know, and that's football, because you know what, to lose. There's certain teams with a certain enigma where if they're not there, it's just not the
Everyone.
same.
Changes the
It's
dynamic.
not, it changed it definitely. Yeah.
Prophet Ray,
Yes.
what is the spirit saying to you about the Islanders?
About what?
About the Islanders.
Gentlemen, let me tell you. Let me give you an insight into Ndebele culture. You know, Ndebele aren't, if they believe something, and it is, especially if they've been used. You see, they've been used to that success, the Islanders, for a long time. The only team that they have no qualms with. That's why when they play Dynamos, it's full packed, because they know with the clash of the giants, there's gonna be entertainment galore. You see that level of football when those two teams played? That level was top notch. That's what they are used to. So imagine from an early age you're used to that, and then you come to a point where it's just like Tsukwite. And now what's making it worse is that their main competitors, they don't view an Scotland, but they don't care. It's Dynamos in Cape United. They don't care. And the fact that Dynamos in Highlanders, Dynamos and Capes are up there, even they are down there. I'm telling you, manje, kunoimbwa song to Baba Fields. Manje. Did you see that guy can pick half Liverpool? Did you see that guy can pick half Liverpool, half Highlanders? Did you see him?
Half Islanders.
Imagine Liverpool and Highlanders. You think that guy would be happy?
The guy was not happy. The guy was
we can't be drawing, of which is a fact. Title race, and this is what happened with Arsenal when the league started, and Arsenal we ain't go winner. When I go, it's only 3 games. Hey, it's only 5 games. It's only vakomana 3 points. Zinonetsa kudzosa 3 kana paine mapoints anetsa kudzosa 3 points zinonetsa kudzosa. Let's agree on that fact. 3 points a mountain to climb. Remember, Man City once pipped Liverpool in 1 point.
Not only once.
After how many points? 95 points. Younger than 96. Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 times.
It's difficult. In one game, where Liverpool drew when they're supposed to win. And look where it went. So for Highlanders, they're number 7 or 8 right now. I'm not sure. And did it? Number 7 or 8. And Caps in Soroko. Difference here, Caps and Dynamos is 1 point. Number 1 and number 2. Highlanders how many points? So it means Highlanders has to win at least 4 games unanswered by Dynamos in Cape United. Is that possible?
No.
As it's just like with Arsenal. Arsenal. It's Arsenal. It's just that Ateta ake hagoni kuwina. I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to say it. I'm going to win. Kuti, people, English media. So, the boss. So those guys, they really do me my head in. Ryan Cheki. Ryan, I don't Ryan Cheki.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Mfanaega, he's a fan. He's a product of Anna Ronaldinho and a Neymar.
Yes.
You understand? That's who
He's
he
a
is.
baller, that one.
That boy is a baller, and that boy brings entertainment into the game. Understand? This is what the game has been lacking. We've got guys that play like robots. You know that Wakagara, you can tell Kuti. I can tell you if Arsenal is playing or Man City is playing. Kuti from this guy is going to pass that one, going to pass that one, going to pass that one. When they get the 8-meter box, he's going to pass it left and pass it right.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's all about statistics.
But Pep was shaking his head. So he
doesn't like that. You sell him for that. You trade him for that.
It started on that Robona assist yakaita. Robona assist yakaita. Yeah, he had one afford and it went in off the bar. Pep was not happy with that with that goal. And then who in the world is not happy with a ball like that? Take any fan from anywhere in the world, anywhere else in the world. Those are the kind of things that they want to see. They want to see someone being nutmegged. They want to see someone being sent to Magrosa. On. Do bora good. Mopasa wants to pass out, pass to the left, pass to the right, pass back to the left, pass it back towards your goal. No one wants to see that.
Arsenal is attacking. Martinelli is attacking. He's got pace. Atosiamu ne pace by 2 steps. He's turning. He's going to go. Because there are one man. Kudara Waitonzi, coach Atosumti, take him on, Sammy. Take him on.
Take him on. Of course.
But no, guess what? Martinelli, I don't know, rotator so. Or Zosa kuna deck rice haruba uno defend huko. Rice orisa ku left ku right huko kuna Madweke. Madweke ori pasa kuna Timba. Timba utasa obari dzora bo Saka dzokera huko. Ori pa kuna Saka, and then Saka now trying we're going back. But you had one guy 1v1. Why didn't you take him on?
Exactly.
You see, Cheki needs to go to Barcelona. Needs to go to a team that
needs freedom.
Yes.
He needs freedom.
You know why this kid, what's his name? This kid here. Yamal. You know why Yamal is getting all that? Mbanayaka, he dribbles when he thinks he wants to dribble. Yeah. And never a time do you see Hans Flick or his teammates saying, Ukwite. Boss, they know. 3 out of 4 chances he's going to succeed and the team wins.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen Hans Flick shaking his head on the touchline after someone has done a skill like that?
Go on.
Yeah.
But we are losing ballers. Cheki is a baller.
He cannot be discouraged.
That boy is good.
I cannot check it 200 minutes. Because just the technique, the art to know, I have to do this, I have to do that. That's top shelf stuff. That.
Yeah.
And we're in a game of such intensity. He's just trying to tell that the team, you guys are useless.
Yeah.
Anyway, I saw some guys watching blame Ananzi. Hey, that's being disrespectful. No. Where's the disrespect? Where's the disrespect? Where his team is leading 2 goals.
English way of thinking.
Yeah. It's a poor way of thinking.
Who? If my opponent is
disrespecting who?
You. If you are still, I'll disrespect you. Hey. Ronaldinho is the one.
Yeah, hey, he did worse. Ronaldinho did worse than those things.
Yes, Ronaldinho did worse than Jake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then told I would blame. We cannot be one-sided.
That's the beauty of the game. That's the beauty of the game. If you're going to be silly, if you're going to be silly in the winning car.
Problem with the guys is you've got to understand this, and I'm sure everyone here knows that English football, English fans do not accept one very skillful. They do not accept one is something, one is flay. Yeah. So that's the reason why, and I mentioned this, Pane, one of the groups is when I mentioned this, that's the reason why you would see someone saying Rooney is better than Neymar. Monom. You see? Because Varguda Runika, bear in mind, Rooney is one of my favorite. Kuman, you and it. But it's a joke to even put him in any class in a name. Because do you know what they're looking at?
Those two names in the same sentence.
They're looking at Rooney akaenda akano elbow amunhu akanorwa tackle. Obva omberirwa obva ita hasha dzake aggression. Obva anogoesa. Then that's how men's football is played, according to them. Anyone anoyachita skill, anobva anzi chishow pony, azodai. They do not like that. That's the reason why even check it like Zakaita Pepe. It's unacceptable in English football. You see now Maground Gushinji Kwacha they're going to hate him. He'll be booed. Because they do not like that, because they don't appreciate talent yakadaro. Vanoda yembazambaza. Someone who does mbazambaza would be considered a very elite. Yeah. But someone like Neymar, how can Neymar, the only player you can equate to Ronaldinho is Neymar.
Thank you. Yes,
the only player you can
pound for pound skill,
because you're talking of people who no combine skill with productivity. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Iwewe yaunoti skill iwewe ka ishobot. That's his natural way of playing.
Playing football.
That is the difference, and I'll tell you I'll tell you what I experienced, Munom. I realized, Gutizo, when I came into this country. Okay, you guys remember Soccer AM, yeah?
Yeah.
Soccer AM, I think in a segment, the showboard. Yeah, segment, the showboard, yeah. So in the hope say back camera was in the ground gets up in the bus, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Soccer AM, in a segment, yeah, showboard. Did you actually see that most of the things that they called showboards, Ugaenda Kubora the Zimbabwe, it's the norm. 5'10", Kuduwarwa Munuka helmet, yeah? Those things. If I know it's a showboard, but with Zimbabwe, if you go there, no one even blinks an eyelid because it's not really their game. Zakutotango manje kutowakutombono a bit of skill muchi English football. Saka, they have never accepted Vanotamba that way. Saka, it will always be a problem. Anyone anotamba that way, you see Gutizo. Any ground running, Kimbo imagine out to check you ono buiwa ku Sunderland. What does Sunderland have to do with Arsenal versus Man City Carabao final? This is the mentality, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes the game boring because we pay to see skill, we pay to see talent.
You want to see skill, you want to see flair.
Makes it more interesting, not a winger who's always thinking about passing the ball back. You remind me of Cody Gakpo. There's no player who's frustrating me more than Cody Gakpo, and Slot. If Slot is gonna be fired, I think he should be fired just based on that. Because the moment you see him, that young man Rio Ngumoa coming in, within 5 minutes, he has dribbled past his fullback 5 times, and he has created crosses and he has created chances.
In 2-3 minutes, Mfana 2 or 3 shots on target.
Yeah.
But when atanga ngirikiri game race, ane 90 minutes, ane 80 minutes or 70 minutes, whatever. Yeah. He doesn't even have a single shot on target. How does he get his shots on target? He gets past players.
Yes.
He takes on players, and then it creates an opportunity for himself, and then he takes a shot.
Yeah,
that's what you want to see in football.
Yeah,
you see,
and with the way that risk.
Yes, with the way Liverpool is struggling right now, you would want to see your coach have the guts to drop a player like Gakpo and then say, Ngumoa, have a go, start this one, and then show me what you can do. And then it's the same thing that I criticized Arteta. Of course, I wanted to win that game. But when Man City went 2-0 up, and then it was getting towards the end of the game, you want to see that 16-year-old, what is it?
Yeah, Dowman.
Dowman. Yes. Put the Dowman in and ask him, go and show me what you can do. No pressure. We are already two goals down. Go and show us what you can do. And then you would see Mfanoya, because Mfanoya is a pure talent. And we are not doing enough in football. We do not have coaches who are doing enough to encourage those kind of players to play. Everything now is so structured. Play like this, play like this. We have a system that we have to play in. Stick to the system. It's killing footballers. We can't continue having that.
Oh, it has destroyed football. Do you know, even you know what Kevin is saying is right. Remember when Suarez came into the EPL? Some of the things he did were ridiculous, but he became a villain. You know, his skill. That's why Spanish players will never come to the EPL. Look at this guy, Crystal Palace and Peña, that little midfielder. Do you see the things he does, Kapinski guy? But I tell you, Czech is a marvel. Czech is a marvel to watch, man.
Czech, yes.
I watched that game with a Liverpool fan. But he himself, he wanted Man City to win as well. So at 2-0, and then Arsenal, that is, I think towards the end of the game, that's when they started attacking. So you know what I was shouting? Just give Czech the ball. You deal with those guys. Just give him the ball. Let them come to him, and you deal with them. And boy, did he do that. On the right flank, where we got Bora, 3 players, 4 players around him. He was just going in circles with them, turning them around and turning them left.
And do you know what makes English, being rigid makes you silly. Pane Bora hapo Cheki, he faked the first defender. He turned the faces the crowds. These two guys, these are no players. Just look at him like that. Ndobachano rotate chikavatari so. I knew it to be one. But the moment he turned, I knew it to be one. Kudana bamba, but don't go blind. Vajgira say, oh, we have to don't. Paita, but they were not coming for Saga. He was going to force him to Zokero. But no. Why Mumirira? Don't like what's a Real Madrid Ronaldinho. You wait for him, he will kill you.
I would embarrass you.
But Arteta does not win, gentlemen. I'm going to say this again. Muchatamo, but I'm telling you, I'm going to win. Don't trigger team. It's not all the pace tweaking. What for? If something is not broken, don't fix it.
He wants to be
you know, there's
Man, you got that game or they drew. Tarek Anambo trigger team. He put back the same boys and they won. If something is going right, you keep it until it stops working. He just talked to them. This happened because of this. Let's fix that. Not good every tweaking. This way these boys become robots. This like Ben White has Satambi Bora.
You know, one of the things, as bad as coaching was, back in Zimbabwe, or in general, but there were also good things that happened with the coaches as well, like some of the encouragement. And one of the biggest encouragements that coaches did in Zimbabwe was there's coaches who would give, like now, we were talking about wingers going back, instead of taking on a player.
Yeah.
There's coaches who basically they gave you they would say to players, if you come out of the first 45 minutes and you've not gone past someone 5 times and crossed the ball, you're coming off.
Wow.
What does that do to you?
That's a challenge.
What does that do? It's a challenge. So now, because in earnest, what they were saying is, as soon as you catch the ball in the attacking third, I don't want you to look back, and I don't care if you lose the ball as well. This then goes back to Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson said to Ryan Giggs,
Ronaldo,
you can lose the ball as many times as you do in the attacking third. I don't care, because the one time that you're going to go past, you're going to get a goal, and it's going to make us win. So I don't want you to turn back. Once you're in the attacking third, you go for it.
Yeah.
And that was where, you know, what that was the difference, you know, with Weidman. So now, Saka, for every take-ons that he has, for every 6 take-ons that he has, 5 of them he will come back, and probably just one is when he will try to go past, you know, a defender. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
You see, there's a goal rakagoeswa na Ronaldinho. I need to. You have to go and watch it. It was against the Villarreal, right? So the ball was a cross, right? Cross and into he was in the center forward position, Ronaldinho, right? The ball came and he was facing it and it was coming towards him direct. He chested it, right? It was a chest control, but it went behind him. And for some reason, I'm looking at him like, how can Ronaldinho miscontrol a chest? But what he did next, that is what showed it wasn't a mistake. He then turned and then did a scissors kick. Oh, yeah. And then it went in the opposite corner. That's brilliance. We are never going to see those kind of goals as long as Chiramba Chita stick to those structured things that we are seeing in the Premier League.
Look for videos when you remember Messi pakaberenjara kambobuda for some time paya. Just check with Neymar aite. That boy carried Barcelona on his shoulders. Vakomana ka skill pound for pound ka Neymar soka. Neymar zvaive zviri zvinhu vakomana. You know, ndakaseka zvikanzi Rooney ndikandangoti you know, tatanga this British thing, you know, what can we say? Rooney in his own right. Chanchakaipa chipesi chachia. Chanchakaipa in his own right.
I wanna get.
Plus chaiziva zvekuita when it was time.
But you know,
what it guys. My Brazilians, their careers might be short-lived, but wakumana they bring another level, another aspect. That's why nina makumana no yachinzi ma Brazilians and no doubt kuti Rafinha single-handedly kept Leeds, brought Leeds into the EPL and kept them there. And see what happened when he left. Look what's happening in Barcelona. You can tell good investment Brazilian. Kwezoita vamwe mfana Estavol akangouya zvikanzi Estavol boys ma Brazilians uzapedza kuti Bruno Guimaraes cheche unasana kuti ichi Brazilian ichi unasana kuti ichi Brazilian ichi. Because they bring a certain aspect to the game.
Newcastle where we are United,
but Tottenham inaanguka. I know some teams should not be relegated, blah blah, but Tottenham needs to go. Because do you know what face anonzi Binarash what we are akadzingwa Villa. Remember Villa was having issues zima players, say. They fired him. He's the guy. Up Tottenham, and then the other guy was fired by up Tottenham.
Same guy.
Like you know, for a team with such a big stadium, you shouldn't be fighting relegation. It achieved a Formula 1 trick here in the NFL because championship bora.
Yeah, it won't make sense.
Very position is terrible. Because I think they're just above West Ham near 1 point.
Imagine.
Yeah, it can go either way. It can go either way. You see, they need to start winning matches and winning soon.
Unfortunately, I have to go.
Yeah, same
I'm
here.
starting out the good graft now. Yeah, so I think we've had a lot of fun. No. I'm sorting out things for the morning, but tomorrow. Now then out of boys when I go to work and then for 3 days and then come back, so I can they still pick up my suitcase and all that, you know. So
better people. Hey, my good.
Yeah.
So they both driving traffic.
Anyway, your prediction for Islanders Warriors tomorrow. Before you go.
Warriors, watch them. Watch these boys. Watch them. They're here to make a statement. Watch them.
But Mongameli is playing for the Warriors, right?
For me,
He
I
was
want.
called to the Warriors. I think he will play for the Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would want them to have a good. It's a good workout, but in
It's a good workout,
personally, I don't like football clubs playing against national teams. I'm not a fan.
Team.
I'm not a fan of that nonsense. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it at all.
You can tell the heads that are playing. But
Manchester United yauya ku South Africa yakunotamba ne South African national team now. A select
What
yes.
are we doing?
A select my teams. Yes, my players from different teams, not
but who's going to read the heads that are playing there? Come on, eh?
Yeah.
The national team playing against the Islanders. Who's going to guys, the underhand. Come on,
Okay. I get you.
Thank you.
Oh, I get you.
All right, Omar, take care.
Anyway, guys, take care.
All right.
Thanks.
It's been good.
Okay. Right.
Been good.
Later, gents.
Later. Bye.